chicken satay. Today you're going to be learning how to make a chicken satay and we're going to work on our knife skills again with cutting the meat. But before we cut the meat, we're going to start with getting all of our ingredients ready. So the first thing you're going to need is to get a measuring cup, and you want something around 100 mils of coconut milk. So if you don't have that, you can, I'm just using this brand here, Satay coconut milk. You can read how many mil are on the thing and then just do it by eye. But it should be this is 400, so 1/4 of this can. But this one has milliliters on my jug here, so I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to add in approximately 100 mil. And like I said, as long as it's about 1/4 of the can, that should be good. Next, we're going to go ahead and we're going to add in all of our seasonings. So the first thing you're going to need is your curry powder. So for your curry powder, you're going to want a tablespoon, and you're going to want about 3 tablespoons. 1, 2, 3 tablespoons of the curry powder. And then you're going to use some salt. I don't have salt that I can dig into, so I just got a salt grinder here. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to add in just a bit of salt. So let's say around 1/8 of a teaspoon. After the salt, we're going to add in a little bit of paprika if you have paprika at home. If you don't have paprika, I don't have it, so I'm just going to leave that out. Just add about 1/8 of a teaspoon. The next thing you're going to need is cumin. So we're going to add in about 1/8 of a teaspoon. So that's a teaspoon, something like that, of cumin. And then we're going to do the same thing for turmeric. And then the last thing I'm going to add in there is about 1/4 of a teaspoon of some sugar. Now all the ingredients are inside here, so we're just going to go ahead and mix that up. And now it's ready to put the chicken with it, but we need to prepare our chicken next. So for the chicken, you're going to grab out a piece of chicken, and to slice this up, you're going to cut it into very thin strips. Make sure it's not frozen. It makes it much easier to cut. You're going to take your knife, and I want you to hold the knife at the end of the handle this time. You're going to place your fingers down and press onto the meat. I want you to slide your knife back and forth just so you can feel it just underneath of your fingers as you're cutting, to cut these really nice thin strips of chicken. You can see how thin they are. And then what's going to happen is we're going to put them inside of here, and then later on we're going to use these sticks and we're going to use the skewers to weave the chicken on, and then we're going to cook them into the frying pan. So I'm going to go ahead and just continue cutting. I'll show you a few more times. Sideways. Just feel the knife underneath of your fingers, and then continue to cut along the meat. I'm going to go ahead and finish that off. I've just finished cutting up all the meat, and instead of leaving it in this jug, I put it back into the glass jar that I was holding the meat in, and then I've just made sure that all of the chicken is covered and scraped out all of the sauce inside of here, and then just gave it a good mix up to make sure that, like I said, it's all covered in the sauce. I'm going to let that sit for a little bit, and while that's sitting, I'm going to now clean up this area. I need to make sure that it's all nice and clean because I had raw chicken on the chopping board. I'm going to use these sticks in a little bit to put the chicken on, but for now what I'm going to do is I'm going to teach you how to make a peanut sauce after I wash this all down. Rinse off your towel and then wipe it off one last time before you start making your sauce. So to make a nice peanut sauce, what I'm going to do, and you can upscale this recipe, I'm going to just say, because I'm just doing a small portion here, I'm going to do about 1/4 of a lemon, so cut it in half and then half again. And if you have a lime, I prefer lime, but I don't have lime, so lemon will also work. Just squeeze it out, make sure you collect all the seeds, and squeeze it over top of a bowl, like so. And if you have any seeds, make sure you pull them out. Next, I'm going to add in here some honey. So you want about 1/2 teaspoon of honey. So I got a tablespoon and a teaspoon here. Because these are so flat, I'm just going to kind of 1/2 teaspoon or something where I kind of cover the surface of it, something like that. Just use your judgment. And you're gonna have to taste this as you go. So less is more, and then you can adjust it up or down as you go later. After the honey, we're gonna go with some coconut milk. For the coconut milk, you want about 1/3 of a can. So again, I'm just gonna do this by eye, and I'm gonna taste it as I go. So I'm just gonna add in a bit for now, and then taste it in a minute once I got the rest of my things. So definitely less than 1/2, but more than 1/4. Okay, that's mixed in. Next, soy sauce. I'm gonna put about 1.5 tablespoons of soy sauce in here. Something like that. These are really flat, so I'm just filling that up and saying maybe I'll even put I'm trying to be careful because I can always go back and add more later. Next, I'm gonna add in here some peanut butter. I'm gonna take another tablespoon, and again, I'm gonna do about one. I want it to be really peanutty, so I'm gonna take almost 1.5 spoons roughly of the peanut butter. And then I want to use some curry powder again. So we were just using that earlier on. Curry powder. And I'm going to use teaspoon. So let's say, again, about 1.5. Something like that. And I'm gonna taste this and then adjust it as I see fit. I'm gonna add in honey is already added in, and that should be pretty much all the things we want. So now what I wanna do is I'm just gonna mix it all up. And the peanut butter is really gonna need to be mixed well in with the coconut milk. Try to break it up on the side of the bowl. So I'm gonna give this a quick taste. Tastes quite nice. I think it needs a little bit more peanut butter. And I want it to be a little bit smoother. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take it, and if you guys have a blender, you can put this into a blender and then blend it up, and it should make it nice and creamy. So let's go ahead and do that. So I'm gonna throw this in here, blend it up, make a nice peanut sauce for our sauté. We're now going to put the meat onto some skewers to make the sauté sticks, but I would recommend you putting a plate out so that you don't drip all over the countertop or a chopping board, because when you go to use a cloth to wipe it down, it does want to stain. So this just helps because you can take the plate over and rinse it off quickly. So when you go to do this, you're going to go ahead, take your skewer out. You're going to get your piece of chicken out of the sauté sauce. And what you're going to do is you're going to start by weaving the stick in and out, about 1 finger in and out of the meat like so. As you have done this, when you get to the end, don't bunch it up super tight like this. You want to have it spread out a little bit, but you want to make sure that you can get a few pieces of meat onto each stick. So I'm going to continue this process, weaving the meat in and out like so. And then when you're done, set it on the side and continue on. Now that all the skewers are made, what I'm gonna go and do is add a little bit of oil into my frying pan, about a tablespoon or less. Turn on the heat to a low heat, low to medium heat, and then you're gonna take your skewers and you're gonna make sure that oil spread around inside the pan before it gets hot, and then you wanna line up all of your skewers in the base of your frying pan. If you can only fit 3 in, you can do 3 first. I think my frying pan is gonna be okay to fit all 5 of these in all at the same time. I think that would probably be the max that would cook at any one time. And then I'm gonna cook these up, flip them over, cook again. And what you wanna do is you really wanna make sure that these are fully cooked all the way to the center of the chicken. So what I'll need to do is once I think they're done, I'm gonna break apart some of the chicken and make sure it's fully cooked inside. So my chicken is cooking up nicely. What you can do is you can take it and you can just grab the end of the stick and flip them over carefully. If that is too dangerous for you, go ahead, grab a pair of tongs and flip it that way. But as you can see, it doesn't always necessarily work quite as well. I find it much easier to grab just the stick, but you have to be very careful to do it this way. Do whatever you feel most safe and comfortable doing. You can see it's getting some nice color on here. Just gonna let that continue to cook. Just gonna go ahead and turn them over. You should get nice color on both sides. It's very easy for this to burn, so be careful. Slow, medium heat is the best way to go. So I think these are done. I'm gonna go ahead and shut them off. I'm gonna pull them out, place them onto a plate. But before I go to eat or serve any of this, what I want you to do is make sure that you pull apart some of the chicken, both in the centers and the ends. If it's too hot, grab a fork and use a fork to pull some of it apart in the center. You want to make sure you got a nice white meat all the way in the center like that. Don't just check one, check a couple of them. Looking good. Looks good. And there we have it. Our saute is done. And we have our sauce, and they can be served up and eaten.